Hey, how's it going? This is Kenny with Keller Williams Realty. Hope everybody's having a great week and thanks for checking me out. This week I wanted to talk a little bit about like the pros and cons of Townhouse. I was inspired by a nice lady that I was just talking to. She's the owner of a townhouse, and we kind of got to talking a little bit about like everything that is. And then I shared a little bit about my history, and that I was my first home was a townhouse, and I loved it. I stayed there for 8 years. It was great. Um, just some of the pros just right off. That a lot of people notice that you can a lot of times you can get a nicer, like more upgraded, newer townhouse, like for the price, um it compared to a house. Sometimes you wouldn't be able to afford a new house, for example, and you could get a new townhouse. So that's great. If you want a nice new things with all the upgrades and stuff like that, like it's great. And then the community, to have people around, and um, probably similar to you. You know what I'm saying? If you're younger, just starting out, or maybe a little bit older, like an empty nester, like there'll probably be some similar people there that you can connect with. So that's kind of cool. And then also. Like I used to like that they cut the grass. They get like the HOA did cost money for mine. It was like $40 a month, but like they kept the grass and the shrubs and everything. I didn't even own a lawnmower while I was there. What are some of the other things that I liked about it? I liked like my bedroom upstairs, like the master, like had like three big windows just side by side, and I always set like my excuse me, like my bed up like up there, and like it would just get a nice view of like the sky and everything, and just kind of I'd be able to look down on the street, see people was coming. Like if I was expecting somebody, I'd be able to look, oh yeah, that's them. I see them walking into the house, stuff like that. So it was kind of like a perch. Like I'm like an observer type of person, so I would always just sit there and just like see what's going on down on the street. Not that there was like tons of activity, but it was nice. Um, but and those were some of the like my upbringing. Like I grew up in apartments like exclusively until I was grown, so it made a lot of sense to me. Like just on the like when I bought my house, I had an opportunity to buy houses, like full houses, and I actually turned them down because like I like the like it reminded me of apartments. Like I liked that there was neighbors close by. I liked that there was community. I liked that it was close knit. Like that's what I was used to growing up in apartments with people, neighbors sharing walls. Like that was all okay for me. I liked that. And the low maintenance. Like I didn't know anything about maintenance. You have a maintenance man. In apartments. I didn't know anything about stuff like that. So I learned. You still have to do maintenance and stuff like that, but yard work and stuff, like it was taken care of. So I like that part of it. Um, so those were some of the pros. Some of the cons, like of my particular place, like the parking wasn't that good. Like if you had any company, or like if it wasn't just you, like everybody parked on the street. There was a lot of parking on the street because the driveways are really small, and like say, a lot of people like me like use their garage for storage and other things, like not to park their car in. So you're parking, so that puts you out in a driveway. And then if you have anybody else that, you may be blocking each other in, it's like a one lane. Mine was like a one lane driveway, and so like you're blocking each other in. So it's just like easier to park on the street, so that way you don't block them in. Or if you do, like you got to park like just right. You got to pull like all the way up, like to the garage door, and then like you can like put another person, like they'll barely fit like to the mailbox or something like that. And you see people like kind of pulling into the yard, but HOA don't go for that kind of stuff. So, and that was another thing. The HOA was like strong, They did keep the neighborhood nice. That's a pro. But as far as anything, like they'll start finding you. Um, and stuff like that. So, and a lot of the townhome communities and other communities too, like this is not exclusive to townhouses, but but in mine, the HOA, um, there was the HOA was very active. But if I go back to the neighborhood today, it's still nice. And I go back from time to time just when I'm in the area. I'll drive through, see what it's looking like, and it looks nice. It might even be better than what it was before. There was a problem back then with like people. There was like straightaways, like it was basically like a big circle, and like on it was like an oval, and like there was like straightaways where people could get going really fast. So they put like stop signs and speed bumps. Like that was one of my like pet peeves or whatever, because there's kids in there. People want to go like seriously like 80 miles an hour, like down the thing, see how fast they could go or whatever. And I thought that was really foolish. And I was like, y'all need to do something about this. Y'all want to get on me, but like this is a issue. But they actually have remedied that. I guess other people, maybe said the same thing. So the HOA is strong and keeping the neighborhood nice. That was good, but very active and will get on your case for any reason. I remember they had these like fake shutters like on by the windows or whatever, and like one of them like fell off or something, or like the paint chipped. Like I had to replace it, and like matching the paint was really hard. And they gave me a hard time. I was like, man, I don't care. Like just get off my back about these fake shutters. Like they're not even real shutters. And but it's just like keep the look up of the neighborhood. Um, Another thing that I was talking about with a nice lady this evening was just from my personal experience, and not that I'm super crazy. A lot of times I like it quiet. I like dim lighting, stuff like that. I'm laid back. I don't like a whole lot of loud stuff all the time. But from time to time, I turn on my music, my stereo, and it's great just to kind of open it up every now and then when the kids aren't around. And I was telling her, a story when I first came here. Like I couldn't believe, like all my life, like I tell you, like sharing walls and apartments. Obviously, like you have that certain level that you can go to, like with a radio, but you can't really have a powerful stereo like in an apartment a lot of times. Like it's not gonna last long. People want to be on the wall, calling the police, all this kind of stuff. Like it's not gonna work. And so I was telling her, like in my townhouse, me and my neighbor actually kind of went back and forth because he didn't like me playing my stereo. I played it in the daytime, trying to be respectful. Like right in the middle of the day, I'm like, it's daytime. You play your stereo, whatever. But he actually worked nights, so he's like, I'm trying to sleep. And then he would play his stuff, and I think he thought it wasn't that loud, but it was bothersome, like at night or whatever, because we had that shared wall. But when I moved to my house, the house I'm in now, um, I tripped out, having a, you know, reasonably powerful stereo, not no like super crazy, but turning it all the way up. And I was telling the lady this evening that that I went outside when I went just to test, because I was like, I can't believe like this is not causing a problem. Like I turned it like all the way up or like really loud, and then I closed all the doors and I went outside and I couldn't hear anything. And I actually ran into the neighbor. I don't know if the neighbor was out there, or maybe it was the next day. I was like, "Did I bother y'all last night?" I had the stereo up really loud. Like I mean to be disrespectful. I was just kind of testing it. I was just kind of tripping out. I was like, I couldn't hear it at all. Like, could y'all hear it? Like, what? What are you talking about? Like, no, we didn't hear anything. You're good. Like, just relax. And I was like, whoa. Like that was like a different, and it's like a really small thing, but it's like not having those attached walls, that what I'm saying, like that it does mean something. um there's another thing, like living in apartments, living in a townhouse, living anything with a shared wall, shared building. um you know it's hard to keep the bugs. Like if they got bugs or if you got bugs, like they're gonna travel between apartments. Even if you're like super clean, if your neighbors are nasty, um, you know, and people might disagree with me, but just in my experience, it could be very difficult getting rid of bugs and ants and stuff like that because they're going back and forth, and they're gonna come check out your stuff. So the bugs go back and forth. And people just outgrow townhouses a lot of times. Like for me, like that's what happened with me. So I was in my 20s when I got it. I was really excited. I'm like, I'm a homeowner. And by the time I was out of it, I actually paid it off. But in the meantime, like I had kids. In the meantime, like around the same, like when I was getting it, like my son was on the way. He's now 12. So he was on the way. And, it wasn't a big deal when he was little. And then my daughter came later. And it just got to be a lot. Like there wasn't like a room for play area. There wasn't a good like yard space. I remember one of the biggest. It was a big like sometimes the small things are big things. I remember like there was no place for my son to have a basketball goal. And I remember when I was in between houses, I was actually staying with my dad when I sold my townhouse and I was getting ready to buy a new house. I bought my son a basketball goal, and I was like, at the new place, I'm gonna make sure that there's a nice driveway, we can clear out the cars, and we can shoot hoops because I like to shoot hoops. He likes to shoot hoops, and um, and we do that still to this day. When he comes, we roll out the goal, and we'll shoot and stuff. And it's cool. Like sometimes the small things are those, but the storage gets to be an issue with the townhouse. Sometimes the stairs. Sometimes it's an issue climbing the stairs, and I don't know why. Like I guess because the houses are like skinnier and taller. Like the house and I have never measured this, but to me the stairs seem very steep. So that could be an issue. Um, but that's just a discussion. It's something just that came up that I thought was an interesting conversation. Just thinking about the pros and cons of townhouses. But my townhouse put me in the game of home ownership, and I was able to kind of stair step up. And a lot of times that's a natural progression. Get the townhouse. Once you get a family, you're gonna get a bigger house or whatever, and it's not a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? You kind of learn it. And like for me now, like I'm ready to get out of this house. Like there's also a HOA in this neighborhood, and I don't like them. Like I would like more land, like outside of a neighborhood. So like there's always like kind of a stair step. But for me, like the townhouse was like a great first step. Like it was a really nice, and I thought of it like back then um is like probably like one of like the nicest apartment you could possibly get. Like it had like a garage and like three bedrooms, and like my mortgage was stupid low, and I was just like, how could I possibly beat this? And it was just nice, and I was like, man, I just kind of come and go. And I was like, man, how did I fall into this? This is awesome. When people complaining about rent and stuff like this, I was like, this is like the nicest apartment you ever seen in your life, like aside from Buckhead penthouses. But like just a normal, what has this much space with this much room with a garage? Like nowhere. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, this is like the nicest apartment ever. So I kind of like, I guess like kind of finished up my apartment journey, and it was very comfortable to me. And but I think I'm going to end it there. I want to keep rambling on, just kind of talking about my personal experience. But um, if anybody lives in a townhouse or lived in a townhouse before, definitely comment, tell me about your experience, anything that I left out. Um, Obviously, one thing that I just thought of, like when you're upstairs, it gets very hot, but that's also in a normal two-story house. There are the temperature differences, and if you have the basement, a lot of times that you can go to a nice cool spot in the summertime. But that's one I forgot about. But I hope everybody has a great week. Thanks for checking me out, And yeah, have a great one.